Okay, all right, I'm here. Sorry for all of the coughs and the sniffles that apparently the two or three of you heard while the countdown was going. That was weird that my little mixer thing is on. Anyway, today I realized I haven't done a whole lot with the upgrades that have been going on. Like, I've been staying up to date with them with my projects, but I know that these have been some of my more helpful videos. So I figured I'd take the time during this live stream to start from where I left off in the last one, which was 3.50. So we're 14 versions in right now, or 15. So I'm going to start with 3.51 and just go through all of the updates, all the upgrades that have come along, and then chop it up. This is kind of like an early preview. I want people to be able to, like, engage like we are here, and then go through all of the different upgrades. The features are typically where I'm going to stay and talk about those. There may be a couple of bug fixes we look into as well, but then show actual code of it working. The Payload team has done a great job of including code examples in their newest releases, so that's helpful. And it's going to be a way for me to also implement it into this blank project that I have set up already. So looking forward to getting started with this one. It's been a while since I have looked at the upgrades like line by line. So if you haven't already, I do have my next.js newsletter that covers all of the key features from every Payload upgrade. So make sure you subscribe to that if you don't want to wait 14 or 15 versions before a video comes out. But we'll have some code examples, we'll see what this looks like, and I'm going to actually downgrade the project that I just created all the way down to 3.51 and do it incrementally. There are going to be a couple of ways that you can upgrade though, so why don't we take a look at some code. So on the right there is just a blank template that I created using the create payload app script. So I'm going to go into the package.json file, and everywhere it says 3.64, I'm going to select all and then replace all. So 3.51.0 and then replace all of that. And now I can run pnpm I, which will install. And we see the installation there. I haven't run the code yet, so we don't see a cache folder or a next folder. All we see is the node modules folder. So here, we're not going to run into any conflicts if I try to run the code. So I'm just going to go ahead and run pnpm dev just so we can see it spin up without any errors. And I suppose we should create our first user as well, just in case there's something in the payload UI that we want to look at. So I'll go to the admin panel. All right, use my typical test email and password. Very secure, don't need to save it because I think I have that memorized. And then one thing that I'm going to add right away to my payload config is in admin, there's auto refresh. Or wait, is it in admin? Oh, that's good. Okay, so we'll be able to cover auto refresh, I think. So that's one of the key features that have come out recently I've been using that keeps my session alive. So excited to get to that one. So let's start 3.51. Not a whole lot happened in this one. So we do see that we have the plugin multi-tenant, which allows the tenant field overrides. And so here even, like, I'll go through each of these, but this is how I actually learn everything that I have learned about Payload. So a little bit of teaching to fish here. So looking inside of the merged feature, we can see what this actually does. And so the internationalization portion has been improved and the tenant selector label has been deprecated. And that's really all this does, but it allows for, or it changes how the field override works. we can see the tenant field overrides happen within the collections level of the tenant plugin, the multi-tenant plugin, and it's typed appropriately, and then the internationalization improvements as well. So beyond that, there's the update query presets UX. If I click into that, I should open in a new tab. So it doesn't seem like there's going to be any code for me to do here, but we can see the query preset controls are more prominent now. So before, see, this is why I really like the release notes in Payload CMS now. So before, we can see that the preset is in a drawer, comes out, and then you can save presets there. But now they're more prominent here, where there's the select preset. That was really fast, but there's select preset up in the top there. So that's something we should be able to see if we create a preset ourselves, which I don't remember how to do. So let's do it real quick. Well, I think I just need to enable it. So first we'll go to users, collection, users, and then an admin. So we'll go to Payload CMS. Excuse me. And then we can do query preset. Yeah, I had it right. Okay. Enable query presets. We set that to true. And now that I have this set to true in my users collection, I can see the select preset pop up here. If we go back a version, just so we can look at it here live, I'll select all these. Let me try that again. I'll select all these and reduce it to 3.5 instead, and then run pnpmi. I'm going to try this without having to delete my next folder. But now that my server has still been running, I can refresh. I guess that doesn't work like I want it to. So I'll restart the dev server. All right, now that that's refreshed, we see that the preset is down here now. And I don't have any presets, but I can create new ones here. But the UX just looks much better when it's more prominent like it is in 3.51. As soon as it refreshes, yep, we can see that it moved from down here to up here, and that plus button helps you create a preset much more easily than it was when it was down here. So that's really it for 3.51. We'll move up to 0.52, and I'm going to make sure for each of these that there's not a patch that follows. Again, there's not a lot of features for 3.52, and that's why I've been really delayed in getting some of these put together, because a lot of the features just aren't like enough to warrant their own video. And this plugin import export is about this, like that's the only feature in this 3.52. So you can add limit and page fields to export options. Not really much to write home about there. And then I'm just reading the bug fixes real quick. Not much here either. And so we're going to skip 3.52 and head up to 3.53, which has a couple of features. The first is that there is an Icelandic translation now. So in the config, we can first, actually, we need to go to package.json, and we're going to upgrade from 3.51 to 3.53. And we're going to install all of that. And while that's happening, we're going to look up the config for adding languages again, because I don't have to have this memorized. You can have it pulled up. That's what documentation is there for. So we can import from our Payload CMS, translations, languages, and I don't actually know what our Icelandic one is yet, so I think I need to install this first. We'll do pnpm add Payload CMS translations. We can install that and then take a look at our releases and see what Icelandic is. And so I can't see it here in the conversation, but if I go to commits, I should be able to see how it's exported, which is IS. So now if I do IS and then add IS here, we'll be able to add under admin our internationalization object. And we can do, let's, before we do this, add English, because what's going to happen is I won't be able to understand what the panel is going to be turned into. So we'll do supported languages, and we should just be able to do English and then Icelandic. Which gives me a type error, which means I did something wrong. I think, but maybe I just need to run payload generate types, which that's not actually it. So I'll just do pnpm dev, go back to the user panel, refresh. And then if I go to my preferences, I should be able to switch the language from English to Icelandic. And I can see that everything is updated here. Now, I'll need to switch this back to English because I don't read or speak Icelandic. And I'm getting a type error here. I forgot that I'm live streaming. I should be talking about what I'm looking at. So for some reason, we're seeing this type error on the language type. Two different types with this name exist. So does that mean I have another internationalization? Nope. English translations, languages, and that's exactly how that's in there. Excuse me. It's not custom, so I don't need to worry about that. So not exactly sure why I'm getting this. Type TA is not assignable to date FNS keys. Do I get that with English? Well, we can take a look. Supported language, internationalization. I do know it's supposed to be an object, but is there more that I can add here? Nope. Okay, well, if you do end up seeing this type error, feel free. We'll see if this gets fixed in later versions. You can suppress with TS ignore, which went up way too high. There we go. So that's the Icelandic translation. Then there is another plugin, import export, where you can now group by and sort by when those are present in your collections and your sort is unset. There's another one for plugin, import and export, which adds sort order control in sync with sort by field. And then another multi-tenant you can see which tenant field is, you can see which tenant is visible. Sorry. You can see now which tenant the document is attributed to. So let's take a look at the bug fixes. Not a whole lot of features. For edit view. Just reading real quick. Okay, so nothing in bug fixes that would be relatively common. So this storage S3, the thing that I ran into doing a project actually was fixed by this version, was we had an S3 storage, object storage container bucket that would always, it wouldn't crash, it would just not work anymore. So it was really weird how it ended up happening. It never happened to me with Cloudflare's R2, but we were using AWS, so I'm not exactly sure why it was doing that. But what we figured out was that this actually came out, was an internal candidate at first, and we went live with it because we had, like, we knew we had to get the project up and running and we needed object storage. So we got running with this. So this actually got me out of a bind getting the project up and running over in August. Perfect. Doesn't look like there's anything else worth reading here. So we're going to go up to 3.54. And there is another way to upgrade. I should have started with this, but if you do pnpx create payload app, what this is going to do is it's going to search and make sure that payload is installed. It says that it's detected, so now I can upgrade payload in this project, and it's going to upgrade all of my packages for me, but it's going to go to the most recent version, which is 3.64. I'm doing this one by one just so we can see how things progress through each of these versions. Just like that type error we just saw with languages, I want to see if that gets fixed in a later version and then report on it. So I'm going to say no to updating the project and just select all 3.53, go up to 3.54, make sure that there is no 0.1. There is not. I believe there is for 3.55 though. So we'll replace all, come back over to the payload config, and in the features, there's now, first I have to run pnpmi to install all of my dependencies. And then we can see that there are some new updates to the job queue tasks, which now run them in parallel. You can configure your toast notifications now, which is exciting. So here in the admin, you can change now the toast duration. So the default appears to be 8,000. So if I do 10,000, I assume this is milliseconds. And then you can just set like a limit to maybe 1 instead of a bunch. We should now be able to get our development server running and see that the toast, set this to dark. Okay, so the preferences are going to be a bad place to test this. All right, so here, this is kind of what I was expecting to happen eventually. I can delete next. Eventually, refactor, nope, just let me hit the delete key. So I'll delete that, run pnpm dev again. Forgot I'm not on Chrome. There we go. So now if I go to my user, I can create a new one. and we'll see the toast pop up, user successfully created, and that's going to stay up there for 10 seconds instead of 8 seconds like it was before. And only one will be created at a time. So I don't think I will be able to, let's see if I can delete and then create. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it fast enough. Yeah, okay, I did it fast enough, so that's good. A second toast took the place of the first toast. So I don't need a new save. I don't need a new user, so I can delete that. So that's the toast. Then before that, let me read the comments real quick. I do have plans for more docploy content. That's going to take some time to get to, though, just with everything else going on right now. But you are the second person now to ask for more docploy content. So looking forward to getting more into that. I admittedly don't have as much knowledge about docploy as I'd like, so it's just natural for me to want to go that direction anyway. So yes, be on the lookout for that. I'm looking forward to, because regardless of how much I do with docploy, it's going to be so much cheaper than something like Vercel or Netlify. I don't know about Railway. Railway is pretty cheap. Eventually, there's going to be a cost benefit, opportunity cost there. All right, so you can now also have multiple different payload instances using get payload in the same process. So we'll want to take a look at this and see what this actually means. So we'll let that load up. And so what would happen is, well, we can actually see what this fixes. So this is what I do every time a new update comes out, is I go in and I chase down this kind of stuff. And so I know not everybody does that. Not everybody has the time to do that, which is why I do it for you. Which again, if you're not subscribed to my newsletter, Next in Dev, I'll make sure there's a link in the description. But if you go to my website, you'll find it there. But I do all this research, compile it, make sure that you get everything that you need to know there. So jobs not triggered with Postgres using auto run. Okay, well, this gets fixed, so that's nice. But so with how payload is created, or how the instance of payload is initialized, is you get your payload instance and then it caches that instance. So that means that that means that if you later on change the arguments that you have for payload, that same payload is still from that initialization. So here that's now fixed. You can have multiple different payload instances. And so these are the issues as reported by here Alessio. To see here that, just making sure I understand this fully before I say anything. Okay, so here it's just an order of operations thing. So if you only have the one instance of payload and it does not include cron equals true, then you go to your payload admin panel. The cron jobs that you have set up won't work, even if you end up going to a part of the admin panel that does have cron set to true. So that breaks auto run, and you're not able to have them running just depending on which way you enter your site. So this fixes that issue. And the second one appears to be mostly just for Postgres, where you might need it with different payload configs. Oh, no. So it was, excuse me, it was for both Mongo and for Postgres. So in the same process, you weren't able to use get payload twice for different instances of payload with different configs, which is essentially what I just said up above. But you now have the key property to get payload, similar to how all React objects in a loop or a map need a key in order for them to be unique. That's the same thought here as well. So that is a new fix where you can now use multiple get payload instances in the same process with different configurations. There's now atomic array push database updates. We can take a look at what this means. Okay. So this is just, let me restart that so I'm not digging into my eye. This adds the push support for array fields for all databases, but this is typically for something that you would use in Mongo. So again, for job queues, it enables tasks in parallel, all good things coming from this, but it does change the updated at behavior, which no longer needs to be only set to the current date. But that doesn't mean that you can skip updated at property completely, so you still have to have a way to update the updated at field regardless. And then here are some examples of how to push items. So I'll move on. Multi-tenant, you can now allow custom tenant field per collection. So specifically, whatever you want for one tenant that you just want in one collection, you can now do that. And you also get the global selector back in all views. So let me read the bug fixes real quick. But first, cough. All right, that's it for 3.54. Let's jump up to 3.55. And I'm going to go straight up to 55.1 because that's the patch, but all the features are here in 3.55. So let's go ahead and change this to 3.54, this to 3.55, run pnpmi, and while that's happening, we'll delete next. Did not replace all. Now I can run pnpmi. Trying to stay hydrated while I'm doing this. All right. So up to 3.55 now. I can run pnpm dev to get in there. Oh, I forgot. I actually need to upgrade this to 3.55.1. So let's move this up real quick. Now replace all. pnpm, oops. Run pnpmi. Then dev. Here, I'm going to skip ahead to this admin auto refresh. So I'm going to add that real quick. And what auto refresh does when set to true is it makes sure that as long as you are working and active, it keeps your session active. This removes the need for that "are you still logged in" modal, which I believe still pops up, but it's not nearly as frequent. And as long as I keep this active and I'm doing stuff, it'll automatically refresh my session for me. So I really do like that option. I guess we'll just start from the bottom here. So save collection folder tab preferences. So If you set preferences in the folder tab, those are now saved. They were not saved before this version 3.55. In rich text lexical, let's see, we do have lexical editor, so we should be able to look in here where it says add options to hide block handles. We should be able to let's see here. I wonder if this has to be in an individual level, or if I can do what lexical and then, so it's definitely not lexical. All right, perfect. So what we need to do here, just a second. So inside lexical editor here, we go to admin, and then we're going to, for example, hide the draggable block element. We can set this to true. And the same thing with hide add block button. Set that to true. Oh, sorry, itchy nose. Jeez. All right. So now what this is going to do is since this is the global, it's going to remove this option from every one of my lexical blocks. So none of them will be able to have a draggable block element. None of them will have the add block button. I don't know if I mean, yes, that's what we're here for. I'm going to take some time to set up a block real quick, which I actually don't think I need to do here. I can just go to the users and add a new field, which will be a type of blocks, and we'll have the name of blocks. Then we'll include blocks, which will have an array of objects, which I think I can do fields. Slug, this is just a test block. And I don't want to make this super complex, so I'm just going to add a text block with the name of text. So now I'm going to do payload generate import map payload generate types, then pnpm dev. And I do this essentially every time that I run pnpm dev. Now if I go to users and refresh, I see I have the blocks column now, and I can add a block. And it's still draggable though. Oh, it's because it needs to be in lexical. Duh. So, interesting. Let me restart. So I can do type, rich text, name, lexical. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm still getting over a little bit of a cold. Something's definitely going around, but I'm doing okay. So now we'll have our editor, which will be... Oh, I don't need to do editor. I need to do... Yeah, I do need editor. I can do lexical, which is going to be lexical editor, I believe. What is it? Yeah. Lexical editor. Which needs to be imported from rich text lexical. Then we need our features, which really all I want is our block feature. If I do this right, oh, that was the wrong button. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Yes, we'll have our features. Oh, okay. And then I need my block. Blocks feature, which for some reason is not getting imported automatically, but that's okay. I'll add blocks feature there. Which this blocks feature will now have blocks, which will have this array here. So now I can paste that there. Format, save, and see if I don't have to. I'm going to have to do import map types in pnpm dev. Then refresh. So now, if I create a block, now I can't, just like how this one can be dragged around, and add block can't be added here. But if I go back to my payload config and I set these back to false, which are their default values, we can see the default behavior. Let me refresh. There's this plus button where I can add the block, and now I can drag the block around. Again, with those set to true, I can refresh. I can still add the block, and I can still drag it around. Weird. But now let's try adding here. There we go. Okay, so when it's added globally, it doesn't really do anything. So I'm going to remove that. But when it's added locally, we can no longer see the handle or the plus button there. But I can still add a block here as well. Okay. Then there are a couple of rich text lexical upgrades. Ooh, I need to say that again. There are a couple of rich text lexical upgrades. A new live preview, client-side live preview, which simplifies population and supports hooks and lexical block population. So for live preview, you could just keep adding things to your blocks array and it would show up, but it would not show up for something nested like blocks in a lexical field. So now that's supported as well. There's a localized status option, which I actually didn't see this. So it's experimental, which means it's in beta, which means that you should not use it in production, but you should try it out. I feel another sneeze coming. Please hold. All right, I think it's gone. All right, so this is essentially just localization improvements, which is great to see. The new experimental localized status. So now when this is set to true, you're able to see what the document status is based on the current locale rather than the latest overall status. So for example, if you have English and Spanish as your locales and you have an English draft and you most recently published a Spanish page, that Spanish page is going to be seen instead of that English draft, even if you are in English. So now with 3.55.1 and the experimental localized status option, you're able to see whatever the document status is for that locale rather than based on just whatever the most recent update is. So that's it for that one. There's this unauthenticated client config. I'll open that up and see what this is. So this is not something that you opt into. It's a performance and security update where now the client config is behind authentication. So that's good news since it prevents exposing underlying schemas. I don't have to reinvent what I'm trying to say here. It's all right here. So then you can get an unauthenticated version of the client config in its place. So only the minimally required properties to log in will exist. Now let's see what this one does. Okay. So when you have multiple image sizes, things can get cluttered in your admin UI. So you're now able to disable the list column and filter admin properties on image size, so it doesn't just blow up your admin panel. So all good things there. Let's take a look at the bug fixes. While I'm looking at this, I'm trying to prevent my next sneeze. Oh, this seems important. So the condition data attribute was missing the document ID when the document is being edited. So now the ID is passed in to the data. So now you can use the ID in the logic that you use for your admin condition. So good improvement there for conditionals. All right, very good. So now in 3.55.1, it was all just bug fixes. So not a whole lot to talk about here. I'm just making sure that that's true, and it is. All right, so let's move on to 3.56.0, just making sure that there's no 0.1. And we're officially over halfway done. So let's go to package.json. Take 3.55.1 and replace it. 356.0, replace all. Run my handy dandy script. And actually, instead of doing all of that, let's take payload generate types. Let's just change our dev script to be, no, never mind. So run everything. I didn't upgrade, did I? I didn't. Let's try that again. So I'll do first pnpmi, then I'll generate the import map types and then the dev. So now we can pass args to task on success and on fail callbacks. So if we go to our payload config and we add our jobs queue, we can create a new job. I think we'll do tasks, And in our tasks, we have the ability of, no, that was right. We need a slug that will just be test task. Perfect. And now we have on fail, which now takes args. And then on success, which also takes args. What is this missing? Just so I can get rid of that. Oh, the handler. And then, of course, we need the handler, which doesn't really necessarily take args, but let's just return. I don't know what this actually needs. Yeah. So I'll just return an output test because that's what it needs to be satisfied. Cool. So now you can pass in these args, which have a few different things attached to them, which I should look in the actual type definition. So if I click into args, they are task call. Let's click into this. So we'll go into the feature. Why can't I see the task callback args? Task. Weird. I want to see if I can access what the arguments are. I should be able to go to commits to see it. Here we go. So now we can see that the input job request, which has the payload object in it, and task status are passed to on fail and on success. So these args, these arguments, are now available to you. So we get input, we get job, we get rec, which, like I said, has payload, and then we have task status. All of that's included in the on fail and on success args. Beyond that, there is now a more reliable job system for crons. This seems to be a very job heavy update. Now you have a way to just handle schedules instead of running the job. So you hit this bin script and it will hit all of your jobs and schedule them up instead of just running them automatically. And so in order to use it, you set it up using a cron job. You use it, excuse me. You use the normal cron template here to schedule using the scheduling bin script. So that's good. Let's see what this one does. Gotcha. So now you're able to change the field size and the limit of what your body parser can take care of. because by default, anything bigger than 1 megabyte throws an error. And some of us like to upgrade. Some of us like to upload images greater than 1 megabyte, so this now allows that. I'm glad my content is helping you. I do have a video on live preview. It shouldn't have any impact on where you're deployed. So that's interesting. If there is, you might want to try and replicate it locally and open an issue if it is an issue. If you're using Next, it should just work, because that's how things happen. I know it gets a little more wonky if you're using something else for your front end compared to next.js on your back end. So I don't know, hopefully that helps, but feel free to check out my live preview video where I go over drafts, versions, and live preview. If you haven't seen that one yet, I can link it if you think it's helpful. All right, so there's now a global before operation hook. I do like the before operation hook I've used it for collections where I'm able to essentially just change the logic depending on what operation we're going through. So it's nice to have this globally as well. And I say globally, I mean that for global collections, but you know what I'm trying to say. So nice addition there. And then export field path context. I'm not sure what this means, but it sounds like something for the use field hook. Thank you. Glad to help. Let's see. So yes, this. I don't even know what this is for. Oh yeah, for the use field hook. Oh yeah, it could be a CORS issue. It shouldn't be, but especially if you're using two different domains. Oh, okay. So a while back, they removed the direct passing of a path prop to a custom field component. I've actually noticed this happen to me when I was building the Cloudinary plugin. So that's interesting. I didn't think about that. So good to know that I can probably go back and use not the path, but the field path context. So it seems like this is a stopgap though. I wouldn't rely on this too much for a long-term fix if you're looking for one. And let's look through 3.56 bug fixes. Okay, a couple of live preview ones, just calling that out because it seemed relevant. This never happened to me. Some of these bug fixes must have been really edge case, because most of them don't happen to me. Quick translation update. Let's take a look as well and see if I can get rid of this TS ignore yet. Nope. All right, looks like all of this is looking good. So I'll move on to 3.57. We're almost done with page 2. We'll move on to page 1. What is this? 8 more versions left? 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 8 versions left. So we can install everything, generate types, import map, and then start up dev. Okay, interesting. Didn't see this one. Conditional blocks. Ooh, I like this one. Support. Let's do one at a time. All right, so format doc URL function. Okay, so this allows you to, let me make sure, because I think it's for like how the actual document is shown up, how it shows up in your list view, which is done within the cell custom component. So you can disable automatic link creation and then create custom URLs based on the document data. So you just get more control over your collection item. So if we maybe don't do users, but we can go to collection and we can do, we'll just do a page.ts. We'll import our collection config from payload. Don't know why some of my autofill isn't working correctly, but then I can export constant called page, should just be page. Now I need a slug, which will be pages. Oh, it's because I don't have fields yet. We'll do fields, just one field. We'll do type of text, name text. Now we need to, not in fields, maybe it's not here, admin maybe. Format doc URL. This is going to be a function. I was hoping for a bit more, but this is why I do this thing and not rely on others to do it. Just wasn't expecting to do this live. So we can do the collection slug. We should, there we go. Collection slug. We can get the doc, and I don't really want the request, but you do have the request and the view type as well. And then here, I imagine we'll need to return a string or null. So I think I can just do something like collection slug, and then do doc.text. Hit save. Now if I go to my admin panel, I'm gonna have to generate types here in a second. Unless it does it for me. It does not. All right, so whenever this happens, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my next cache. And then I don't need to re-download everything, so I'm just going to do import map types and npm dev. Stay hydrated. Refresh. All right, so now I should be able to go to, oh, I need to register the pages collection. So let's go to our collections, add pages, or is it just page? Yep, just page, refresh, pages shows up, create a new page, and I just add text. And I'll be able to see that I'm going to copy and paste it. I have my admin collections pages, and it shows my ID. but maybe it changes in the page undefined. Okay. So I get pages undefined as the actual URL there. So that's not quite what I need. So let's check here in the documentation. Oh, maybe, do I need to return it? I shouldn't. And it looks like I did all of this right. So I refresh. Maybe I can log my doc. Oh, maybe it's because I'm a big old dummy. So the reason that didn't work is I had capitalized T for text, but now, so let's go ahead and edit the text here. Oops. Then save that. Now I can see down there in the bottom that pages text is the slug. Let's go ahead and try and create a new one, shall we? So we'll do test, hit save. And so I still see the ID here. But I do see that this is all updated with the pages/test that I have set up. But maybe if I do something like admin collections, these should get updated. Okay, so the real power in this is that you get to redirect to other pages rather than changing the default behavior of how Payload operates. So if I change this back to ID, we'll see that we can access our documents here. But if I added something like type of checkbox, name featured, we could do something like here we should actually do something like default URL, and then this will be the default case, so we'll do default URL there, but we'll check if doc featured, and if it is featured, we can return, just as an example, please don't do this, a new path. I can save that. Select featured here. When I save, we'll see that this changes to a new path, but of course it's useless. There's nothing there with my request. So this is more or less just a way for you to control how document URLs are created. I'm just going to leave this as the default because I don't have anything different to point my example website to. So then there's conditional blocks. So first they added conditional types, then they added conditional like select options, and now that there is conditional blocks. So here we'll leave this checkbox as featured. And now we can add a new blocks field that's just going to be called test blocks. It's going to be type of, not blur, that's for sure, type of blocks. And we'll have some blocks. And these blocks will have just, I'm going to copy a lot of this example. So we'll have one block that will be slug of block 1. And then we'll have fields, which will have a type of text and a name of block 1 text. And we're going to simplify this for me to copy and paste because it's really not that much text here. That's too much. Then we'll do another block and set this to be block 2 and block 2 text. And we now have this filter options option here. So I can do filter options, which takes a function. And I'm just going to take our data. I'm going to skip the sibling data. I should just be able to use data here. So data, and then I can return Okay, so first we'll get the status of our featured checkbox. So I'll just set featured, set that equal to data featured. Then we can do error handling here. I'm just doing an upgrade guide. This is not that intense. So we can return based on if there's featured, we'll return the data featured. Otherwise, we'll just include true. So I have no idea if this is going to work, but we'll go to our page. We'll check our test block. I don't see it available here, but if I unmark featured, I see the blocks available now as well. So another way that I can use this is the user. I can check, I don't even need to do the constant. I can check though if user dot email is equal to the email that I'm logged into now. I can just return true. And since that can be undefined, I need to use optional chaining. But now, even with featured checked, I, as the person using this email address can access all of the blocks. And so this is a powerful way to restrict who and how you can use blocks. Virtual fields now have the has many option. When you save, the live preview URL is regenerated. So that was an issue with whenever you would update your title or whatever changed your slug. Now that whole URL, whenever you save, it is updated for you. You're now, with the form builder, you can now create form submissions from the admin panel. This allows you to manually create form submissions when needed. There's now an improved tenant there's now an improved tenant assignment flow. Let's take a look at that. Well, hey there. All right, so really this is just an overall improvement to how documents are assigned to tenants. So I'm going to move on from that. You can now copy and paste and drag and drop file and images into the editor. I've not actually tried this yet, so I do have a lexical editor on my users collection. So let's go over to our pages. We'll leave, don't really need to be on that page. We'll go over to our users, click in here. And what I can do now is something like, if I just take a screenshot of that, I can copy it and then I should be able to paste it. Well, that didn't work. Let me try dragging and dropping. I deleted it. All right. Well, I'll just drag and drop this over. So maybe I have to enable this. Excuse me. Let's take a look. I imagine this is an opt-in. Doesn't look like it. Am I on the right version? I sure am. So oh, interesting. We worldwide out here. All right, so lexical doesn't seem like I can copy and paste what I want to. So if I open this image though, copy image, paste, nothing. And I do have a media collection. So not too sure about that. I will have to look into it. Oh, I think I need to have features, the upload feature. That would make sense. All All right, so now with the upload feature selected, can I drag and drop? Let me regenerate my types. Refresh. Try it again. There we go. So now I just had to enable the upload feature, and now I should be able to take a screenshot, copy it, and then paste it. There we go. And then I'm able to set an alt description and all of that. So there we go. Now it's there. Perfect. So that works great. And then I can see that my media folder got created and my image is there because I'm using local storage right now. There's work being done to have the lexical field rendered on demand and some Tamil, I assume, translations. So I'm going to add that translation just like I did with Icelandic, which I imagine is TA, which is the error that I was getting. So I'm going to import TA from our languages here. Can I get rid of this? And then, yes. So now our types are satisfied. Don't know why I was getting the Tamil translation lumped in there. But now, if we go to our users, which we're already here, but I'll leave, and go in here to our go to my user and then go to preferences. I can see this no translation in here as well. So got a couple of translation options now. Perfect. All right, let's take a look at the bug fixes. Oh, and then the missing the translation key, that I was also missing in my type error there. Since we've been talking about translations for a little bit, there are a couple of translations here, including just some adjustments, some corrections, and then for that translation key error that I kept getting, that was added as well, or fixed rather. Perfect. So now we can move to page number 1. So there have been a lot of updates. And while I still have my voice, I'm going to keep going, but I don't know if I'm going to make it all the way to 3.64. Oh, this was a big one. This is a huge one. So I'm not going to be able to actually cover a lot of this, but I'll still upgrade to 3.57.0, sorry, to 3.58.0. We'll replace all. We'll run pnpmi. We'll delete next, and then generate everything. So what this one introduced was the e-commerce plugin and template, huge news. The SDK package, huge news. And then of course the Cloudflare support, which is also huge news. So these are not just things that I can, just spin up real quick here and there, but I do have plans to do a similar live stream as this one to do the new Cloudflare D1 support and do the template beyond just one click. I want to actually start a project and get it up and running on Cloudflare Workers. I have a feeling that one is going to cost me some money. So we'll see if I'm able to do it on the free plan. I'll make it work, maybe. The SDK, I have some plans here as well for different front ends. So I'm really excited to jump into this one because I've been wanting to try out Astro for a while. And I think this is going to help me make that jump a lot more easily with Payload CMS. And then the e-commerce plugin and template. There's a lot of talk and chatter in the Discord about this one, still like in development. So I'm not sure I'm ready to jump into this. It is in beta, but I think it's the fastest moving beta. Not in that it's going to finish quickly, just that there are changes almost like every week, I think. So I'll do a new live stream like this again as well, just exploring. Well, I guess I can ask you guys, like, this live stream format is different than like just me doing whatever project I want to. It's more like focused on like actual work essentially and how to use this stuff, jump into like more tutorial type content that I have that's more produced anyway, and then I can use this as the tutorial content. So if this is helpful, I'm going to keep doing this instead of just writing out a script for the e-commerce plugin. I'd rather have a live stream going for it as well. So really excited to jump into that, but this was a huge update. I can't believe they launched all of this in just one update. So looking forward to jumping more into this one, but I do have to skip 3.58 because I can't just like, oh, let me spin up the SDK real quick, because that's just not going to happen. All right, perfect. So I guess 3.58 is done for now, just because I can't imagine starting any one of those while I'm still going. All right. So let's install 3.59. Remove next. Oh, the slug field. I really like this field. So it took me a second to understand what it was though. So here we can import the slug field. Of course, my auto import's not going to work right away, so I can import slug field from payload. So now that'll pop up, and then I can use the field to use as, oh, this is media. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to remove this and come over to our page, enter slug field, and bring this over. So now if I go to my pages, I already deleted my next folder. I guess I have to do it again. So when you import the slug field, you do need to generate your import map. So you can see here, like the past couple of times it said that it skipped generating the import map, but since I'm using the slug field, which is technically a custom field with a custom component, you need to generate an import map for it to work correctly. And to be honest, I am starting to lose my voice, so this is most likely going to wrap up soon. But anyway, so pages, I can click in, and I've got the slug here, and it's using the text field to generate. So if I hit save, the slug field generates there. I don't necessarily have to save to do that. I can unlock it and generate. So if I change this to testing, I could generate the slug and then hit save. So this saves some time. I know every time I get into a project, I always have to create a slugify function. I have to use it in the after change hook. This just takes care of all of it for me. And it's a little bit more robust than anything that I would create just on the fly. So enjoy the slug field. There are some other options you can use in it, which are, oh, interesting. So there's a checkbox name. I want to see what all of these do. There are overrides you can use. There's position. So if you don't, You can choose yes or no if it's required. You can override certain parts of the field. So if you wanted to set a custom label, I do want to try this because I tried it before and it didn't work for me. So I won't do the required because required, like, that's just default CMS Payload 101. We don't have to go over that. The position, though, if I change the position, I can put it in the sidebar, or I don't know what the other option is. Oh, if I do, I thought it was default sidebar though. So let's take a look. Yeah, it's by default in the sidebar. So if I do position and set that to undefined, interesting. So the position doesn't actually change here. Maybe it does. Let's just give it another shot. I can close a couple of these tabs while I'm waiting. Yeah, so the position doesn't do anything, which is interesting and a bit disappointing, but I would normally put it in the in the sidebar anyway. Overrides, so we can try their overrides example, which is the field, then fields 1, label, custom, and then return field. So we get a type error, but I'm going to try it anyway. Yeah, so that works. And so the reason this doesn't work is because this here is a row field. Yeah, that's actually important to call out. I'm glad you said that, because this is true for the slug, like this is true across the board. So at least for this slugify function, and most slugify functions I've found, it mostly sanitizes everything down to, like, I hesitate to say, like, the English characters, like just how you outlined. So it is interesting. You can, I think, override some of the logic maybe in later versions. If I take a look, let me look here. Yeah, so you can't change the actual like the logic that is being used. So you couldn't import your own slugify function. But yeah, some, like, I imagine this is going to happen with French that uses the same, I don't know what it's called, I'm sorry, that C shape, and the same with A's, the accented E, the umlauts, anything that looks like a Latin character but has additional embellishments are likely going to be sanitized. So that is true for the slug field, and I'm glad you called that out, because that may impact, it will impact different localizations as you use them. All right, so for overrides, this does work. You're going to get a type error. That's because this is a row field, and you would need to change the type to make it work. So I'm going to remove this overrides because I don't want a type error. Then the checkbox name is the generate slug, so I could just say generate. And then I already used field to use. You can change the name for the slug field, which I'm going to leave. No, I'll change it. Name of slug field is going to be slug field. And that's all the options there. So I see slug field show up there, which is a better way to label it than what I've seen. Then we can unlock and then hit generate, hit save, all good there. But now I can just get rid of this. It'll change back to slug, but that stays the same. So cool, slug field is awesome, saves some time, but yes, does have its limitation for anything that's not a I'm going to use air quotes here, traditional English character. So choose wisely if you're going to use this field for your project. Where was I? Oh, that is here, 3.59. All right. Any depth for relationships in find distinct. So find distinct is used for pulling out all of the unique titles for a collection, for example. And now you can use this dot notation to pull out any depth for the relationship as long as that depth is accessible for you. So if you have a depth of 0, for example, this wouldn't work. But let me make sure that this is actually true. I mean, there's no depth option, but I imagine that this listens to your max depth field that you set at the global config. So that's available. You can disable the group by field, or sorry, the group by option. Yep, starting to lose it. All right, so add disable group by. Let's take a look. Oh, okay, so at the field level, you can remove the group by. So if I imagine I do admin, well, it's not going to group by this. Hold on. Let's go ahead and do pages. So in text, I can do our disable group by, and I can set that to true. So now I won't be able to group by the text field. For example, if I have oh man, this goes somewhere. There it is. Okay, so now if I go into my pages, the group by option is now available, but I'm not able to select my text field. If I remove this, text shows up. So use that as you need it. Allow find, excuse me. Allow find distinct on fields, nested to relationships, and on virtual fields. This seems to be similar. So this probably enabled that first option we looked at. Okay, moving on. Bundle types. Oh, interesting. Okay, so all of the payload types within the payload packages is now in a single place, which makes it which enables you to bundle them, with all of them bundled together like this, you're able to load the types into a Monaco editor, and includes, like, just how this example is, you're able to have your fields, your config has like color, how do I want to say this? You're able to see text highlighting for your payload files as well. And so that shows up here, which means I need to update one of my projects. So I have a code field like this in one of my projects that uses payload config options. So now it's able to understand when you're using payload and even have text completion through all of the different types and configs. So that's great. The new Cloudflare template was added to the Create Payload app. We talked about that in the last version. Read replicas in D1 is now supported. And that was a feature that actually came out with Postgres earlier. This helps with read-heavy operations, performance boost. I normally don't read all of the database stuff because I use Mongo, but here we are. I know other people use Postgres. So similar to the push operation, atomic array operation that we saw, you now also have append and remove. So I'm not going to spend too much time there. It's just a couple of more new array operations that we have talked about. Supports additional modules. Okay, so there's just a new view export that allows you to have a little bit more flexibility in which views you use. So I have a video out on how to set up plausible analytics in your admin UI. I use just the default template there. This probably would have been a little bit more helpful where I could just pick and choose different parts of the view that I wanted instead of having the whole view. Either way, whether the dashboard view, which is brand new here, or the default view, you have plenty of options. There's also a simplified view or a really stripped back version of the template, which is similar to what you see on the payload login screen. All right, pass collection config as an arg. Oh, this is nested docs. I haven't really messed with nested docs yet. I do plan on it, but I've planned on it for about a year now. So that's going to come eventually. I was really waiting to see if folders would replace them or would replace this plugin. It doesn't really seem like it yet. So I'm going to experiment with this soon, but don't expect it really anytime soon. Disable join field row types and live preview conditions. Let's take a look at these. And I'll read the bug fixes real quick. Oh, there's a lot of bug fixes here. Couple of translation fixes. Oh, there's even more. Shoot. Jeez. Okay. So we're good on bug fixes. We'll scroll up here. Oh, there's 3.59.1. Nothing really to talk about there either. Okay, so we can disable join field row types now. So the row types, there's literally just a column of type. So you don't necessarily need this if they're all posts, so that makes sense. And then without row types, so it looks just the same without the type there. So this comes in handy if you have polymorphic joins where you have maybe one item goes to multiple collections. You can see what the type actually is. And so sometimes you don't have that and you can just remove it without, and you can just remove it and not have row types there. All right. Lastly, live preview with conditions. Okay, yeah, so this is a great way to summarize it. It's access control for your live preview. So if you don't want certain users to be able to preview something live, you can just set up a ternary operation like you see here, where you end up either sending somebody to a null page or the home page or just any other page rather than the live preview page that you have set up. Great, so we made it all the way up to version 3.60, but that's about all I'm going to be able to pull off. So I'm looking forward to, let me actually close out that section first before I just start yapping. But that's everything from version 3.51 to 3.60. So that's 10 versions that we went over. There are still 4 more that we'll go over, and I'll do them next week. So either Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll be streaming again. I hope to get this chopped up and edited before then. Doubt it. But what I'll do is essentially just do what I did here, but I'll most likely have a version 3.65 or even 66 to look at as well. So I hope this was helpful, where you saw each individual upgrade and the different things that you can do in each version. And I hope you're also able to see how much work goes into each of these upgrades as well, not just for me to outline them, but to those who are creating them. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll see you guys on, well, I'm closing out this video as if it's an actual video, but I'm going to stick around for a couple minutes after. But thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like this video. All of that stuff helps me get the word out for my content. So subscribe to my newsletter, Next in Dev. You can support me on Patreon or become a member on my YouTube channel. Anything helps to help me create content like this, which I know helps a lot of people. So really excited to jump in again with the next video for upgrade guide, which would be from 3.60 all the way up to whatever is released this week. But yeah, it was nice having it was a busy chat today. I know it was only a couple of people, but I'm going to have to do some translating here to make sure you guys weren't talking bad about me. Just kidding. I know you weren't, but yeah, I'm glad that you guys hung out. Hopefully you learned a little bit of stuff, especially in the more raw setting here, where I have not done hardly any research outside of like actually just doing my like research for projects, for the newsletter. So like I've read all of these. I've sent newsletters about all of these things, so I know them kind of. So either way, there's not a whole lot left to say here. Now I'm just kind of mumbling and losing my voice, so I think I'll sign off, but I want to thank everybody for hanging out. This was a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back into this. Like, I used to live stream like once a week at the beginning of the year, and then I just kind of fell out of it. So I think the way that I'm doing this now, where I'm going to use this as my tutorial content, is just going to help me create even more and more. So I'm really excited for it here. Oh, that is a really small world. I assume your channel is all in Brazilian? Oof. Well, good luck. It's tough out here. Even for like, I mean, not to talk too much shop about YouTube, but like, oh yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. I knew Brazilians speak Portuguese. regardless, like, I know outside of English channels, it's hard to get a good amount of reach with typically having, like, English speaking channels seem to have more of an unfair advantage of reach just because so much of the world speaks English. I know Brazil is a huge country, and then there's Portugal that also speaks Portuguese. So there's a bit of reach there as well, but keep fighting the good fight there. Education is so important. And I think even programming education is very important as well. So kudos to you. I'll stick around to chat for a little bit, but I do need to reserve my voice now. I've got work tomorrow. So I'm going to get off camera, but I'll stick around for the chat for a couple of minutes. All right, thanks for watching.